If you're running an e-commerce brand and you want to save $100,000 a year or more, this is for you. Guys, I have built 7 brands, made almost every single mistake in the book. And today I am breaking down these 7 most painful, profit-killing, business-breaking mistakes that I have made so that you do not have to. These are not just theories. These are real things that have cost me years and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. Let's go. Guys, my name is Jordan West. I have started, scaled, and sold multiple e-com brands, 7 in total. I have done over 8 figures in D2C sales, but here's what nobody tells you. The mistakes you don't fix early will sink your margins, your cash flow, and your sanity. I learned the hard way so that you don't have to. Stick around and I'm going to walk you through the 7 mistakes that nearly killed some of my e-commerce brands. If you avoid just one of these, this could save you 5 figures or more this year. Let's make you profitable and scalable without the pain. Let's get into it with number 1, and we are going to go deep on these here. Number 1 is ignoring cash flow. Profit does not mean cash. Let me just say that one more time. Profit does not equal cash. I had brands that looked so ridiculously good on paper. Everything was going great. It looked like we were profitable, but then we were having to make these big inventory purchases and have to outlay a ton of cash, and we couldn't make payroll. There were times when I had to go into my personal bank account, my personal lines of credit, max those out just so that we could make some of these purchases. Scaling too fast without actually having a grip on your cost of goods sold, your payment terms, your ad spend cycles, all of the different outlays that are going out here and there could kill your brand. Now, here is my big tip here. Build a 13-week cash flow forecast. You need to obsess over your cash conversion cycle. Now, here's a little tip that I like to do. I like to have 2 different apps at the same time. Now, you're thinking to yourself like, oh, Jordan, that's just extra app cost. It's not. Let me tell you why. You're able to keep track of 2 different things. So number 1 is your cash flow on one of them. So what I'm talking about here is like a Lifetimely and a Triple Whale, both on either side, or a Store Hero. I really love Store Hero these days. Definitely go check out Store Hero. Really good. So let's say that you've got a Store Hero on one side and then you've got a Triple Whale or something like that on the other side. One of them is going to be your cash flow. That's the one that you're going to put any of your loans, any of your payback terms, anything like that into. And then the other one is going to be your profitability. It's really good to make sure that you are profitable as you are running ads. My biggest recommendation is making sure that you are profitable on your first purchase, right? With cash flow, one of the big lies that we were told as e-commerce brands was, don't worry, your customer lifetime value is going to make up for you not being profitable on the first purchase. It's not true. It's not true. Do not do that in today's day and age. Do not sacrifice first order profitability for some dream of customer lifetime value down the future. There is a old saying, right? A bird in the hand is better than 2 in the bush. That is true now more than ever, right? Take what you can now and be profitable now. It's really important. Let's get on to number 2, and that's overhiring too early. I don't know if you guys have faced this before. I have done this multiple times in the past, and I will not make this mistake again. I have hired ahead of revenue. I felt like I needed to look like a real company when in reality, I didn't need to do that. I didn't need to make that hire. I could have hired an agency. I could have hired a freelancer. The amount of people that want to hire these internal marketing people, instead of just going and hiring a really good agency, it's kind of crazy, right? You don't need to do that. And in today's day and age of AI, and I'm going to be putting out a lot of videos on how to leverage AI in your business, you do not need to hire full-time equivalents. There's a lot of other places that you can look, right? I love hiring in South America. I love hiring in the Philippines, and I love hiring as a Canadian. I love hiring in Canada. What you don't realize is that most roles here cost about 40% less just with the exchange rate, let alone the fact that Canadians actually work for a little bit less. It's just a different environment. So I highly recommend, if you're going to make hires, start with them on a fractional basis at first, right? Number 2 is like too many people solving too few problems, right? Our teams were bloated. It's a really big mistake that you can make. The fix is only higher when the pain is so unbearable and you've already validated the revenue stream. So hire after the revenue comes in, not before the revenue comes in, right? You want to be at capacity. You want to be bursting when you bring that next person in. Now, the more teammates that you have, the more complicated that things get as well, right? Which is why I want you guys to keep your teams as low as possible. We talk about this all throughout e-commerce OS. This is something that I'm really obsessed with and something that I will obsess with you guys about within e-commerce OS. So please go and check that out if you haven't had a chance to. Number 3, mispricing my products. This is a big one. A lot of times I priced based on what I thought that the market could bear for that product, not based on what I actually needed to charge to be able to be profitable. And so if the market won't bear it, then I just will not sell the product, but I need to be profitable. You need to have at least 70% gross margins in my books to be able to be profitable on all channels, right? So on D2C, on Amazon, on TikTok Shop, you need to have 70% gross margins. It's very, very important that you keep this in mind, right? Another thing is, like, I never factored in rising customer acquisition costs, shipping, returns, and bundling, right? So when all of this went together, I realized that my margins were not nearly as high as they needed to be for the teams. Guys, there was one point at my e-commerce brands where I had 50 employees across them. That's a lot of bloat. And I had mispriced my products so that we were not actually profitable in the end. And at one point, there was a tower that tumbled down, and it was really, really difficult to get back from that. So here's my pro tip for you. Price for margin first, right? Aim for 70% cost of goods sold as a floor and test that absolutely aggressively. All right, number 4, one of my 4th biggest mistakes is bloated operational expenses. And we've been talking about this a little bit, but let me talk about some of this. This is subscriptions, this is agencies, this is tools, this is consultants, this is rent, this is all of these things involved that you think that you need in your operational expenses. The reality was I was leaking $20,000 to $30,000 on stuff that just wasn't driving profit. There was a point where I had a great space. It was a space that we absolutely loved for one of our companies. This is for a baby clothing brand that we owned. And we were paying $4,000 a month for rent, and we were bursting at the seams. And we thought to ourselves, you know what? Let's go get a nice big warehouse. And we ended up paying $23,000 a month for it. And it was one of the biggest mistakes that I have ever made going into a big warehouse like that. What my recommendation is always, no matter how much money you are making, pretend like you are poor, right? Your operational expenses, you should be able to justify them to every single person on your team and say why you think that that is a good operational expense for you to have. This includes software. And again, why in e-commerce OS, I'm really trying to help people get their software costs down. It's one of the big things that I'm constantly thinking about in this bloated operational expenses. The fix is ruthless monthly audits, right? Cut anything that does not X your ROI within 90 days. Now, here's one way that I like to do that. I work with a company called AirWallex, which is a really, really great company. You can actually just cancel your cards at any time on AirWallex. We try and do that once every couple of months. And then we have to re-justify any of our purchases again with the new credit cards because everything bounces. It's a really, really great way to do it. And I highly recommend trying out that trick. I think this is something for any business owner to understand. Just cut up your credit cards every couple of months and you will be amazed at how much money you save and how much bloat you do not have on operational expenses. Number 5 is a really, really big one. I'm looking at 5 through 7 right now, and there's a lot that we're going to get into in this. But number 5 is over-reliance on paid ads. Now, do I love paid ads? Absolutely. But we had an over-reliance on paid ads, right? Our paid media ended up being 90% of our traffic. So in 2021, when everything happened with the privacy and Meta ads just stopped working, our CPAs rose, we panicked, right? We weren't able to grow in the same sort of way. The things that worked before just were not continuing to work. We had no diversification, and no diversification means no safety net. So the fix to this is build in other growth levers early. Organic, retention, community. All of these allow you to have a stool. And I love to talk about the 3-legged stool, right? The more legs on the stool, the better. You cannot just rely on your paid ads or on specifically one channel of paid ads, right? You need to have multiple places where customers are finding out about you. So I highly recommend having at least 3 of those. And again, within e-commerce OS, this is something that we help you build. Number 6, something I really regret is not jumping on trends fast enough. I remember when TikTok just blew up and we watched from the sidelines, right? And this is why I am not watching from the sidelines when TikTok Shop is blowing up right now. We miss trend waves because we were just waiting for the right time. Always, right? Here is the lesson. Momentum does not wait. Being an early mover is always the right thing to do, right? If it's working for others, go and test it now. Now, I always make sure that our team has 20% of budget and 20% of time to go and play in new categories. Do not go all in on these categories, not at all, right? When a new trend comes up, make sure that you have your 20% time. If we've learned anything from Google, it's that they have their team available 20% of the time to test new initiatives, right? So this is cash and this is time. And it's really important that you do that. This is a really big regret. Now, number 7, the last thing is under-leveraging organic content. Right? We always treated organic content like it was sort of the last thing to do. Really interesting now in my B2B world, right? Owning an agency and this whole world, it's actually the number one thing that I do. The first thing that I do every single day is try to add value out in the world in organic social. And this is how we have grown our agency to being one of the biggest social commerce agencies in North America, and how I am also growing e-commerce OS to be able to help newer founders be able to get stability and double their profits in this day and age. The fix, make it a part of your growth engine. Make it the most important part of your growth engine. Now, here's my argument, is it is the thing that is at the center. Like similar to when we talk about creators being at the center, your organic strategy is at the center of everything. What works organically will work in paid ads e-commerce brands. Listen to that, right? You need to figure out and post about 10x more than you think that you should be posting on different platforms. Another thing too, and I'm going to steal this from Gary Vee, is respect the different platforms. Respect what goes on these different platforms. Do not post TikTok style content on Pinterest because it might not work. And that may not be the best example because TikTok travels. TikTok content travels actually really well across platforms. Don't post Facebook content on TikTok. That will not work, right? It will not work. All right, guys, a couple more things that I really want to make sure that you guys recap and take away. These 7 mistakes did not just cost me money. They cost me time, they cost me growth, and they cost me peace of mind and sleep. But you can skip all of this, right? Avoid these and you're going to be 90% ahead of all of the brand owners trying to solve things the hard way. Really, you will. Now, if this helped, please hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. I share stories and frameworks like this all the time. If this is something that you are interested in learning more about, e-commerce OS is for you. There'll be a link to apply down below. That's to work with me personally. And this is something I have not opened up in a long time, but I am opening up now and I'm very, very excited about this. Also, drop a comment if any of these hit home and share this with a friend in your network, and take a look at some of the other stuff that I am sharing on YouTube constantly. Really appreciate your time today, guys. And until the next one.